Famous last words.
This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for What in the World with Paul Siebert, his sidekick, John Donallo.
Last word.
And we are live on this Wednesday afternoon. Wait a second, aren't we supposed to be on Tuesday afternoon? Okay, well, it's Wednesday afternoon.
It is. Well, you're at What in the World, everybody's favorite weird news show. Real news, sometimes strange, always funny. And today it's even stranger because, as Karen Hale pointed out, we are here on Wednesday. And by we, I'll start with me. I'm Paul Siebert, your host of What in the World. I'm also the editor and head writer at mysteriousuniverse.org, where some of you may have been introduced to me. The other voice in your ear is Karen Hale, our producer, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, which is our platform, and co-host of the show. Newclevelandradio.net is a great platform for us and for a lot of other podcasts. So visit them, check out, obviously, where to download us. Especially from YouTube. You don't download from YouTube, you just go and look at it. But we have a link there. We also have a link to my website, paulseaburn.com, where you can find all kind of other new stuff about the podcast and about me, including a link to my book, What Would You Say to a Naked Space Alien? Let's see. I think that's it for plug number one. The the other voice you hear in your other ear is none other than my old buddy John Donallo, our co-host, color commentator, and also the host of our segment "What in the World of Sports" with John Donallo. Hey, John, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well, Paul and Karen, audience. It's a great day in Cleveland. We're getting ready for the Guardians to take on the Tigers in Game 3 of their series, and looking forward to a Guardians win later this afternoon.
Absolutely.
That's right. Yeah, the game starts right after we're finished. We are thinking about you, our listeners out there. If you're listening to us live, you'll be able to still catch the entire Guardians game as soon as we're done. And if you're listening to us in the future, you already know whether the Guardians won or lost. So, but don't let that influence listening. Please.
Well said, Paul. Well said.
There you go. That's right. John's got his lucky Guardians hat on. So one of many hats. I think he rotates as one. You know, when there's a loss, he takes it off and puts another one on, and hopefully that brings us luck. So it's a cold day in Cleveland. It's fall has hit. So I don't know how cold it is in Detroit where they're playing, but I imagine it might be. Let's see. Shout outs. We need to do a shout out to Marianne. I keep forgetting to thank Marianne. She sends me notes all the time on Facebook. She also occasionally sends ideas for the show. So, excuse me. Oh, no.
I think you need some water.
She gets me all choked up. She's such a nice person. She's one of those paranormal people, excuse me, who found me through Mysterious Universe. I think I'll get there we go. Okay, it sounds better here. I don't know. That there actually doesn't sound too good. All right. Oh, we're coming back. One of these days we'll make enough money to buy one of those fancy microphones where I can kill my voice. Kill somebody else. I don't know. anyways. All right. Well, Marianne, thank you for tuning in and sending all that stuff to us. Also, shout out. We have a lot of friends down in Florida, friends of the show. And again, the hurricane is bearing down on it. Milton is the particular hurricane. We're hoping that they all ride it out and that they'll be listening to us sometime in the future. So everybody out there, say a prayer for all the hurricane people. Now, let's see. We've got, what a show we've got today. Besides, forget the hurricane. Where do you hear these stories? Starting with from India. An alleged 188-year-old man was found in a cave in India. We've got a picture of him. For those of you watching us on YouTube, excuse me, but a lot of details on that story. Parrot problems in Argentina. They've got weird parrot problems. The worst thing to see on an airline flight. Oh, wait till you hear this. Worst thing to see in your surgeon's hand. This is even if you've got surgery coming up, you want to tune into that one. John's favorite, Bigfoot sightings. We've got Bigfoot sightings. Get ready for this. Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Oklahoma with photos for John. So
Okay, looking forward to it.
not only John, Loch Ness monster sightings. We've got update. Yeah, we got an update from Loch Ness. We also have an update from my friend Katie Elizabeth, who is the world's leading expert on the Lake Champlain monster. I think we may have mentioned it last week. I've got an update on that story with some really good information. Plus, we got more odd news. We got world records. We've got trivia. John's got another great sport for us this week. So let's get right to it so we can get to the Bigfoot stories, and then John can get to the game.
All right, sounds great.
A video making the rounds in, I'm going to share my screen here for a second here. Okay, let's get our logo up there. There we go. Video making the rounds shows a man in India who was rescued from a cave. And when they found him, he looked pretty old. And as they talked to him, he claimed that he was 188 years old. He said, the first thing, they knew he was old because the first thing he asked them was for some Geritol for his iron poor blood. Remember Geritol?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I do. Uh-huh.
That was a sponsor of the Lawrence Welk Show, which was made. Anyways, look it up, or ask your grandfather. He says he was down there for many, many decades in this cave. He said he kept busy by playing the guitar, which he learned from his first guitar teacher, Keith Richard. He's so old, he remembers when the Browns were a good team. That's how old he was.
Wow.
It was a tough one. I know I won't pick on the Browns too much. There's one. Ask how he looks so fresh. And he does look slightly fresh there. He doesn't look 188 years old. But ask how he could look so fresh. He said he made some clothing out of some old Twinkie wrappers he found. And,
oh, my gosh.
I don't know. The experts who looked at him say they think he's only 110. So he's old enough to remember when Michigan had a good team.
Yeah, not recently.
Oh.
I don't hear time here, Karen and I.
The horn there.
Okay.
Moving on. The town of Hilario, what a name, Hilario Escabusi on the Atlantic coast of Argentina has been overrun by tens of thousands of parrots recently. There's some of these beautiful birds.
Wow.
Tens of thousands of parrots who are pooping on everything,
Oh.
weighing down the telephone lines, and screeching so loud that it keeps everyone awake. The people there say that it reminds them of watching an American political conference. Convention. I'm sorry, convention. My spell check in my brain just read the wrong word there. There haven't been this many parrots in the town since the 1700s when it was full of pirates on shore leave.
Oh.
Okay,
you gotta
all right.
And it's getting dirty. It's getting dirty. People are going from house to the houses of the neighbors that they don't get along with, and they're putting saltines on their front porch and yelling, "Polly want a cracker?"
Oh. Oh.
Wait, there's one more. People are using loud music and laser lights to try and scare the parrots away. It doesn't work, and now they're also overrun by teenagers looking for a party. Anyways, that's a true story. It is a true story that the town is overrun by parrots. They believe the parrots are coming from the forest that's being logged by loggers. So yeah, unfortunately, it's not a good scene for the parents. But
Wow.
okay, moving on. Qantas Airline, the number one airline in Australia and one of the tops in the world, had to apologize to its passengers on a flight from Sydney to Tokyo after the airline played the wrong in-flight movie. And instead of a Disney cartoon, they saw, and I'm quoting here, 40 minutes of penis and boobs. So
Oh my God.
John perked up on that one. Every seat on this Qantas plane had a screen on the back of it for the person sitting behind them, and that's all they saw was 40 minutes of penis and boobs. Um, I think the title of the movie was Charlie Sheen's Summer Vacation.
Poor Charlie.
John, if I'm not mistaken, 40 minutes of peanuts and boobs was on our wish list for our senior proms.
Well, yeah, I mean, that just kind of goes with the territory, Paul, when you think of it, for sure.
Good answer. Good answer. The movie also had a lot of four-letter words in it, so it could have been Deshaun Watson getting a massage after the Browns game.
Oh, boy.
That's my last Browns dig for the day.
Okay, that sounds good.
It was on every screen for 40 minutes before somebody in the cockpit could figure out how to turn it off. Flight attendants said it was the longest time that not a single passenger went to the bathroom. So this sounds like, actually thinking about it, 40 minutes of penis and boobs sounds like a great plot for another airplane movie. Remember Airplane?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Airplane's a great comedy.
I already got one of the lines. Surely this was a mistake. Don't call me Shirley.
Oh, that's it, Paul. Good one.
Oh, all right. One more on this theme, and then we'll move on to something a little less adult. How's that, adult? Two guys were cleaning up a beach in Bornholm, which is a little island in Denmark, and they picked up something that they suspected was a dead snake. There's a picture of it. He picked it up, and they thought it was a dead snake, only to find that it was actually a 5-foot long whale penis. John, I think we saw. Yeah, John, I don't know if you remember this. I think we saw whale penis open for Country Joe and the Fish.
That's one I don't quite recall, Paul, to be honest with you.
Don't remember that? Don't remember whale penis? Somewhere off the coast of Denmark now is a whale who's wondering why he's swimming so much faster lately.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah, no drag. Yeah. What's really amazing is that it's 5 foot long after shrinkage.
It's amazing.
Whale.
It's amazing these two gents are touching it with their hands. Wouldn't you think they have gloves on? Just
Well,
saying. I'm just saying.
I think they took this picture before they knew it was a whale penis. I think
Oh,
they
okay,
thought
all
it
right, okay.
was
Well,
at the time. Yeah. But what's really amazing, so I said, yes, it was 5 foot after shrinkage. Whales are the John Holmes of the oceans. Now, I'm giving 2 points, 2 bonus points for anyone who recognizes that John Holmes reference.
Yes,
Karen,
sadly, I recognize it.
I recognize it also.
Oh man! Oh, Karen gets 3 points. You're already ahead on the co-host. John, you remember John Holmes?
I do, yes, from the 1970s, and that's about as much as I'll say about that right now.
Well, that's okay because I have something to say. Not because of the John Holmes was probably the leading porn actor of maybe all time, but he's actually from Ohio. I did not know this. So you know how we like to talk about local boys make good. He was the most prolific adult film actor with documented credits for at least 573 films, which means he did something, 573 times. I knew John would know who John Holmes was because he lived near James Books. And for those of you who live in the Cleveland area, particularly our Parma listeners, you'll remember that that was the place that we were all told by the nuns in grade school not to go anywhere near because they sold dirty books there.
That is true. That is very true, Paul. That's
To
truth be told. Yes.
this day, I see messages on Facebook of people who grew up in Parma mentioning that, oh, yeah, James Books, I remember that. So he was born in Asheville, Ohio, which is down south of Columbus. He went to he went to high school there, where he was on the track team. He was a pole vaulter.
Oh.
Got to get the horn on that one. That's for sure.
And then he enlisted in the Army. Not surprisingly, he got an honorable discharge. I had a hard had a hard time saying that one. I'm sorry. Okay, no more of those. A woman in Bath, England. Well, we all need a bath after that. A woman in Bath, England, claimed she was hospitalized with a concussion, a severe headache, nausea, and dizziness after a cauliflower fell on her head at a grocery store. And she says now she can't work. I lied. Believe it or not, Deshaun Watson said the same thing happened to him before the Browns game last week.
I thought you said that's the last one, Paul. That was going to be the last reference to Don or the Bronze. Yeah.
If you've got cauliflowers piled so high in your store that they're falling on people, maybe it's a sign the stock boys have too much time on their hands, or you need to run a cauliflower sale. I don't know. You know, they need to replace it with something safe. You know, like little individually wrapped baby carrots. That's much safer.
Oh, that would be.
Yeah. The store actually apologized and gave the lady a gift card, which she said she was going to use to buy some charcoal and a lighter to burn the place down. So he's obviously still mad.
It's a bit extreme.
What can I say, John? You know, I don't know. I never had cauliflower fall on my head, so
me either. Never had the experience. I'm glad
that I know of. Yeah, that I know of. All right. So, here's our surgery story. So, if you got surgery lined up, you want to listen to this one, especially if you're in England. A surgeon at University Hospital Sussex in Sussex, England, claimed there was a shortage of sterile scalpels in the operating room. So he had to open the chest of his patient with a Swiss Army knife. Is this, wait a minute, Paul, is this a real story? Is this a true story? These are all real stories, John. I just find that incredible. But go ahead. I don't know. This is England. They do things differently in England. Yeah, but no, this is a true story. So he opened the chest of his patient with a Swiss Army knife. If you think that's bad, the same thing happened to the proctologist in the next room, and he had to use a can opener.
Oh
my gosh!
Oh,
I told you it was going to be a horn day.
Okay, you got that right. Wow. You know
though, I had a doctor operate on me once with a tablespoon. I should have expected it. I was at the Mayo Clinic.
Oh.
Wait, there's one more. Then I went to Parma Hospital. Instead of surgical gloves, they covered their hands with white socks.
Yeah.
That was
probably true.
That's another Parma joke there, right?
This is a true story. The doctor actually got in trouble, obviously. The hospital claimed that there actually were tools available and he didn't look hard enough. He just reached in his pocket, I guess, and pulled out his Swiss Army knife and operated on the poor patient. The patient did survive. So
that's good news here. That's good to hear.
Yeah. Well, and this was in England, so you didn't have to pay for the operation, because all the surgery and stuff is free in England. So, I guess if it's free, I suppose I'd put up with a Swiss Army knife. I don't know about the can opener though. Okay.
No, let's go away from that one.
So last week we introduced a new segment. We don't do this very often. We introduced a new segment called Word of the Week. So Word of the Week is coming up, and I'm introducing a corollary segment this week called Phrase of the Week. Our phrase of the week this week is moon goo. Moon goo is the phrase. That is not the name of the first Chinese restaurant on the moon, which serves moon goo gai pan. It's actually, I told you, be ready. It's actually a NASA discovery. So NASA scientists announced last week that they found a layer of low viscosity goo, that's their description, not mine, low viscosity goo that sits between the moon's surface mantle and its metal core. So for those of you watching on Facebook, this is an artist rendition of the inside of the moon where there's no green cheese, but in fact there's this bright white ball of hot stuff surrounded by the yellow moon goo, our phrase of the week. The goo is rising and falling the lunar surface, and the NASA scientists think this is actually making the lunar surface go up and down. When he heard this, Buzz Aldrin immediately called Mission Control and said, "See, I wasn't drunk on the moon."
Oh.
That's all I have on that one.
All right. Okay.
Moon goo. Word of the week, moon goo.
Moon goo.
Okay. Competition, not necessity, is the mother of invention, according to this next story from Italy. Ambra Colina is the lady's name. And back in February, now this is a story we talked about on our show. A lady by the name of Jenny Duvander of Oregon set a world record for the world's thickest tongue when her tongue was measured by the Guinness people at 5.21 inches in circumference. So 5.2 inches around, larger than a ping pong ball, I think approaching golf ball size. So this woman in Italy, Ambra Colina, said, "They can beat that." And she actually contacted the Guinness people and said, "Guess what? My tongue is bigger than her tongue." And here's a picture of her. That I don't know if that's a ping pong ball or a hard-boiled egg that she's holding next to her tongue.
You think
But
it
her
might be a golf ball? Is it a golf ball?
I don't know if it's kind of smooth. Maybe Italian golf balls are smooth, like Italian.
With no
shoes.
dimples, right?
It's not undimpled. Yeah, that's right. It's got what's the stuff you squirt in your face to make the wrinkles go away? Botox. It's got Botox in the golf ball. Lost my place here in the script. So this lady contacted the Guinness people and said that they measured her tongue, and her tongue was 5.44 inches in circumference, almost 5.5 inches around, and she now holds the world record. Believe it or not, in high school, she was voted most likely to terrify dental hygienists.
It's easy to believe. That's an easy to believe one there, Paul. Yeah.
Well, how about this, John? With a tongue that big, this poor Italian lady is forced to eat spaghetti one strand at a time. How does she squeeze it into her mouth with that giant tongue?
What a thing to ponder.
Gonna give you nightmares tonight.
Oh yeah.
She says that having a tongue that big is not a problem because she has a really good job as a tester for wooden tongue depressors.
Wow.
One more. She's Italian. So when she heard that she got the record for the widest tongue, she called her mother and she said, "Nonna mia, I won." Nonna mia, with the thick tongue. I know.
Sure.
I wasn't sure that one would work, and it didn't. Okay. All right. So back to our new segment, Word of the Week. So we had the phrase of the week. What was the phrase of the week, John?
Was moon goo.
Moon goo. That's right. You get a point. Okay. Word of the week. Word of the week comes from Caleb Olson from Minnesota. Caleb invented this new thing, which he calls, here's the word, the poop copter. one word according to him. The poop copter is our word of the week. The poop copter is the world's first aerial bound dog poop removal system. So what it does, this is a drone with a camera on it, and it scans your yard, to locate and tally the piles from your dog that are in the yard. Here's a picture. We have a picture of the drone going over a test pile over here. And then it lands on each poop, rotates 30 degrees to close the mechanism on the bottom. Then it lifts off and moves to the next pile until it's full of you know what. At which point it travels to the designated drop-off location and then dumps the load, dumps the dumps, and then returns to scoop until the job is done. So far, the most popular designated drop-off location for these things is the local city hall.
Oh,
Now, isn't this amazing that we now have technology, that artificial intelligence that scans this scans the yard and actually finds the poop, lowers itself to it, picks it up, and dumps it off and returns. It's unbelievable, I think.
never seen anything like this. That's for sure.
I know. It's okay. So John, this is our retirement job. We're gonna we're gonna franchise the poop copter.
I'm all for it. I think it'll be a smashing success.
I think so. It's smashing. That wasn't the word I was thinking of, but it will it will be a success. It won't stink like some of our other ideas. How about that? Or maybe
Oh, there you go. Got that's horn quality right there. That's a horn quality joke.
all right, poop copter. There we go.
Okay.
So we talk about music on the show off and on. So we're gonna do that means we're gonna be talking about it next. Sir Elton John. Oh, everybody loves Sir Elton John. Sir Elton John said in an interview. I think I have a photo of him. For those of you who aren't familiar with Sir Elton John, there he is, smiling, looking dapper in his one of his thousands of wigs and tens of thousands of colored glasses. Sir Elton John said in a recent interview that there's not much left of him left in his 77-year-old body that's real. He says he notes that he no longer has tonsils, adenoids, he no longer has an appendix, he no longer has a prostate, he doesn't have a right hip, he doesn't have a left knee, he doesn't have a right knee either. He says he has so many nuts and bolts in his body, he had to change the lyrics to one of his favorite songs, and now he calls himself Socket Man.
Oh, ah,
Uh,
When asked what the next thing to be removed will be, he's saying, "Goodbye, swelling lymph node."
oh.
That's hard to say. Oops, I lost my John there. Goodbye, swelling lymph node. Every time he goes to the doctor, you know what he gets? He gets a honky cat scan.
oh,
Wait, there's more. When the doctor asks him if there's anything wrong, he says, "Yeah, doc, the itch is back."
Oh.
You're on a roll, Paul. You're on a roll.
On a roll, John. Thank you very much. On a roll. Okay. All right. Well, now we're going to get serious for a moment. I was contacted by my friend Katie Elizabeth, who, as a matter of fact, she's down in Florida right now. She's from I think she's from Florida, but she spent her summers in Maine looking for the Lake Champlain monster, and she's down near where the hurricane is supposed to be crossing. But she's inlet enough. She said to me that she's inlet enough that she got a lot of animals, so she's got her barn all battened down in her house, and her boat. In fact, I think I have a picture of her boat, which I'll bring up in a second. So, we like to poke fun on the search for the Loch Ness Monster and the search for Bigfoot. But Katie is one of the people who uses scientific investigation skills to look for the alleged monster in Lake Champlain, up the borders between New York, Maine, and Quebec, if I'm not mistaken. So there have been hundreds of sightings of the Lake Champlain monster since the Iroquois. The Iroquois originally discovered it or first talked about it, and in 1609, Sir Samuel Champlain was the first European to see the monster, and he also got the lake named after him. Which doesn't seem fair, since the Iroquois already knew that there was a lake there. It's not like, he discovered the lake. It was already there. But I digress. So Katie Elizabeth took echolocation readings with this echolocation equipment, which is kind of like a cross between a microphone and sonar. And she said she shared the recordings with Cindy Jolie, a marine biologist from Perth, Australia, who's an expert in these things. And this expert said, if the sounds belong to a marine animal, there will be on. I think I have a photo of the. Oh no, that's my book. How did that get in there right there? Interesting. I don't know. There must have been a cue for me to plug the book. Here's the reading from the echolocation device, and she says that if its sounds belong to a marine animal, there would be ongoing sightings because marine animals need to surface to get oxygen. So she says that's not happening there, so it's not a marine animal. She said that certain amphibians and reptiles, which also live in the lake, like newts and turtles, create clicks underwater, but these clicks that she heard don't match that, so that's not it. So she says the audio shows there's a possibility of an unknown species, unlike anything known from a freshwater lake. The theory that there may be a highly involved ectothermic animal that can produce complex clicks residing in the lake is possible, although additional data and research are required to confirm it. All that hard work has paid off. Confirmation of an unknown species echolocation in Lake Champlain. So she's all excited. Katie is just beyond herself. I got a couple of messages from her with information on that. So here's a picture of her boat. I don't have any jokes about this because I just admire her for her dedication. It's cold on Lake Champlain. She says that it's freezing cold, and she's used to living in Florida. So, but there she is, a very nice boat that she's got there. She gives tours, she takes people looking for it. So if you're up in Maine next summer, I'm sure she'll take you right to the spot where she had the reading, and who knows, she may be the person to find it. She has promised that we'll be one of the first to break the news to the world on What in the World. Okay.
Wait, Paul, I have to ask though, doesn't she have a photo? Doesn't she have a photo of the monster?
No, she's no, John. She doesn't want to. She doesn't want us to make fun of her because
okay,
she's
all right. I got that, Paul. I got that.
She says there are the photos that she has seen are not real. Okay, they're either too blurry, which means they're not. No one's going to be able to discern anything from it, or they don't match what she thinks the creature might be. And one of the theories is that it's a beluga whale that was trapped back when Lake Champlain was part of the Atlantic Ocean, and a number of beluga whales got trapped there and continue to live there. Now, that's debatable because a beluga whale would have to come up and breathe. Also, there's a theory that it's like the Loch Ness monster. It's an ancient dinosaur, marine dinosaur that continues to live and hide at the bottom of it. If anybody can find it, it's Katie, and she's working her butt off to do it. So,
well, kudos to her.
Yeah, move on to Loch Ness. Okay, now this is another one of our favorite people. This comes from my Sometimes It's Not a Monster file. This A&O Fadigan. Now we pick on him all the time. This is the guy in Ireland who sits in his easy chair and watches videos from security cameras on Loch Ness. And when he sees something that looks like a wave, he immediately reports it and says that it's the Loch Ness monster. And we pick on him. We're not the only ones. Everybody picks on him. Believe it or not, he has retracted one of his sightings. And I think we showed this this photo a couple weeks ago of what he said was the Loch Ness monster swimming across Loch Ness. Now he said this was at the VILN Lockheed web cam. And he said it was an unknown 8-foot long animal with a hump rising out of the water 3 feet back from the front of the wake, which if you squint hard enough, you might be able to see something that could possibly look like a hump in that photo. He said that, but of course, he said it can be seen clearly sticking out of the water. So he reported the sighting. A week later, he retracted it. And he said the object is clearly a swimmer dragging a pale orange float behind them. And he apologized to the public, stating it was not my intention to mislead the public, as it was a genuine misidentification. I don't know. Did he hear us commenting about, does it look real?
Darren,
And,
but
yeah, so embarrassed to be on our show and
yeah,
quoted.
okay. All right.
Now, John, I'm not going to ask you if you see the Loch Ness monster in this photo because he already said it's not. Do you see a swimmer pulling an orange float behind them?
I do not. I just see a wake. Okay, I see a wake on the surface of the water, but beyond that, Paul, I don't see a swimmer and I don't see an object there.
I don't either. It looks just like, to me, it looks like a fish more than a log. Log wouldn't look like that unless it's a hoax, and we don't really know. So, but anyways, I think it was nice of Ian to to finally admit that he could be wrong. So,
well, at least he came forward. He appears to be an honest man.
Appears to be. That's right. So, we're still going to be cast a critical eye on everything that he reports.
I think that's a good idea, Paul.
That's right. Just like we do on Bigfoot reports. And John, I've got some Bigfoot reports you're not going to believe. So,
okay,
let's start with the first one here. So, this guy is a Bigfoot researcher. His name is Stacy Haslett. And he recently was at the Pennsylvania Bigfoot Conference, which is just a couple weeks ago, probably about 100 miles from where we're at in Northeast Ohio. Big conference. He made an interesting claim. I think I have a photo of him here. There we go. Whoops. There he is, wearing a shirt that you've probably seen if you watch me on the show. Bigfoot saw me, but nobody believes him. What Stacy said is that Sasquatch was brought to Earth millions of years ago by aliens who came to mine gold and used the Bigfoot to protect them from dinosaurs. Again, that's his theory, is that aliens brought Bigfoot from another planet, and while they're mining our gold, Bigfoot was used to protect them from dinosaurs, which tells you how long ago he believes that they were here and how long that Bigfoot has resided on Earth. I think this would be a great theme for a movie: Bigfoot versus T-Rex.
Really?
It would be an MMA movie, mixed monster arts.
Paul, I think you coined that acronym right now. I think you just did.
We need to register that one. Also, if not that one, Jurassic Madison Square Garden. Be there. Bigfoot versus, or T-Rex versus Bigfoot. So he claims he knows this because he communicates with Bigfoot. He's part of a Bigfoot clan, and he refers to Bigfoot as the first people. So they were here before the Native Americans. They're the first people. He also claims that a Bigfoot accompanies him wherever he goes, but no word on whether Bigfoot was at the conference with him. It's not in the photo, obviously. But protecting him like a big hairy bodyguard. Which people used to say that about me and John when we walked around campus, that I looked like John's big hairy bodyguard. Do you remember that?
I do remember that now. Yes. Oh yeah. That was really a common occurrence, Paul.
So he also said, I couldn't believe this, that Bigfoot has opinions on current U.S. politics. if Sasquatches could vote, and John, you work the polls, do you think they'd support environmental issues since they live in the woods? But
Well,
more important,
you would think so. I mean that seems logical, Paul. If it's the case, though, I really don't know. I couldn't
well,
make a comment one way or the other.
that's right. More importantly, would you allow Bigfoot in to the polling place without first asking them to put on some clothes?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a certain degree of decorum, of course, that every voter has to abide by, and yeah, he would have to do that, and if not, we'd have to deny him. Not only that, he'd have to identify a location as to where he resides to make sure that he's a legitimate voter.
Oh, he has to have a driver's license or some form of
He
identification.
has to
That's
have some form of identification to indicate where he resides, or he will not be able to vote.
Does it have to be a photo ID? Because we've seen the
Uh,
photo.
There are other forms, but normally a driver's license or a state ID card is typically what most people use. But there are other forms of documentation that are acceptable as well. He'd have to furnish that.
I can't believe we're talking about this. The,
It's a Bigfoot point, Paul. So I mean, it is kind of believable in a way.
exactly. So for those of you who aren't watching us on YouTube, I'm going to describe the gentleman here. He has a beard. He looks more like ZZ Sasquatch. Would be the best description of him. Okay. Also at the same conference, and this is for you, John. Also at the same conference, there were flyers all over the place. I have a picture of one of them right here. Flyers all over the place. Picture a drawing of Bigfoot holding a woman, and tear off phone numbers on the bottom. And the underneath the picture, it reads, "Bigfoot turns me on. Please give me a call. One rule: no words, just grunts, growls, and howls."
It's amazing.
I tried the best I could, John. I blew this up as big as I could. I could not read the phone number for you to call her up. Uh,
Oh,
I don't think I'd want to call that number, to be honest with you.
Believe it or not, the guy who's holding up the guy whose arm that is over there is a reporter who was covering the conference, and he did call. He said nobody ever answered the phone,
Oh,
but can
okay.
you believe that somebody who's looking for Bigfoot lovers, she says, "Hey, I'm at the Bigfoot too. Here's my number. Let's get together and grunt and groan and howl and do all kind of stuff."
I guess, Paul, it goes in the category of anything is possible these days.
Yes, yes, anything is possible. Okay, finally, in Michigan, okay, John and Karen's other favorite state besides Ohio, there was a Bigfoot sighting in Cadillac. Karen, where's Cadillac? You're the longtime resident of Bigfoot. Resident. Sorry,
it's got to be north of Detroit somewhere, but I don't know where.
north of
I'll look
Detroit.
it
Okay.
up though.
Yeah.
Hey,
Oh, no, it says here in the script, northern Michigan. I don't know. Does that mean it's in the UP, the Upper Peninsula,
I
or
don't
north?
think it's in the, no, I think it's in the Lower Peninsula, but I'm looking it up. Talk about it, and I'll let you know.
Well, a pair of troopers in Cadillac spotted Bigfoot, and it wasn't just a cutout; it was an actual Bigfoot walking along the edge of the woods. Here's the police report. This time, we saw Bigfoot walking down the road on Division Street in Cadillac. The troopers took quick action because they knew this wasn't a cutout, and they approached Bigfoot. And much to their surprise, Bigfoot was actually a bit smaller than them, and smarter too, because Bigfoot said he ate all of his donuts before the cops arrived. He said,
He's a bright creature, obviously.
"Right creature." That's right, John, especially the Michigan ones. He said there was no language barrier, and the troopers were able to talk with Bigfoot and learned that he had just been out for an evening stroll and wasn't, quote, up to any mischief, which I think I'm going to try that line next time I get pulled over. I wasn't up to anything.
Really?
So John loves the photo. So here's a photo of the Bigfoot and the two cops, the two state troopers who pulled him over in front of a convenience store. Very clear photo, John, I must say, of Bigfoot, and he or she is definitely shorter than the two cops who don't exactly look like they're very tall to begin with. So
Well,
what do you say about that one?
well, I have to say that I think that it's a person in a Bigfoot costume. And
No.
that's just me thinking. That's just me thinking that that is not something that I would classify as a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch. I think it's an actual person inside of a Sasquatch or Bigfoot costume.
Wow, John, you are so good. That's exactly what it is. It's a guy who happened to be walking along the freeway. He said he that's his costume for Halloween, and he said that I quote, he said it was a good night to air out the costume. So apparently it smells, so it doesn't smell like a real Bigfoot.
Oh my
Uh,
God.
yeah, air it out so it doesn't smell like a real Bigfoot, which is what my lovely wife says to me occasionally when she tells me to go for a walk.
Oh
You
boy.
look, you smell like a real Bigfoot. Okay, one more TikTok video. This was from the parallel forest in Lawton, Oklahoma. This guy says, "I think I caught a real effing Bigfoot on camera." Um, it's 10 seconds of Bigfoot footage. And here's a photo I've got two photos here. So this is one of the photos. Here's another one. So this is he says that he was looking at this at the woods, and he saw something leaning up against the tree, sitting down, leaning against the tree, which is the photo on the left. Will look like a Bigfoot, maybe eating a flower or eating some grass, and then it turned on the right. And the end of the video, it's only 10 seconds long. It looks like it starts to get up, and that's when all of a sudden the camera goes shaky, the phone, and that's the end of the video. So it scared him into running away. So he says that he insists that this was a valid Bigfoot photo. He says that when some people have told him it's the best video of Bigfoot they've ever seen, he says, "I appreciate that. I ain't going back there without my army, though." So, John, there's another one for you. What do you think about that one?
Well, I'm going to have to say that of all the Bigfoot photos, Paul, that you've presented over the years, this is something that I cannot refute necessarily. I mean, I don't know if it's necessarily a Bigfoot, but it looks like it's a creature of some kind, and actually looks like it could be real.
Pretty clear, pretty clear.
Yeah, it is
Also,
clear. Yes, yes,
note the teeth. You don't always see teeth on a Bigfoot when
true.
it when into the camera. So this one does have teeth for those of you who are listening, and doesn't look like a costume. Looks like it could actually be a real creature. Uh, Unfortunately, it turns out that the sighting was part of an ad campaign for the Bigfoot Head Shop in Lawton. Um, and
Oh, really?
here's their logo. Yeah, the Bigfoot headshot. I
Oh,
love.
geez.
Isn't that great? It's a for those of you who can't see it, it's a cartoon of a smiling Bigfoot. Of course, he's smiling. He's stoned. He's lifting up his sunglasses. He has a peace sign hanging from his neck and some sort of green scarf. I don't understand the significance of the green scarf, but it is.
I don't
It's
either. But he
he,
looks like a friendly, Bigfoot.
of course, he's friendly. Johnny's stoned. He's stoned. He's
Okay,
not looking for
he's under
better
the
to
influence, is what you're saying. Okay, all right.
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I want the gummies in that place. Because you eat those, I guarantee you're going to see Bigfoot. Um, but I was thinking to correlate the two, the head shop and Bigfoot. Bigfoot looks a lot like one of our favorite rock stars from back in the day, and that would be Jerry Garcia. Remember the Grateful Dead? Now, for those of you who don't remember, go to YouTube. I have a picture of Jerry Garcia here. He has long, long, very bushy hair, very long, bushy beard, and tinted glasses because Jerry Garcia was known to imbibe in many substances, including marijuana. Now, if you don't think that Jerry Garcia looked like Bigfoot, here's a photo to go along with it. Someone got the idea and they
Oh boy.
combined Jerry Garcia with a picture of Bigfoot using artificial intelligence. And this is a photo of Bigfoot playing a guitar with a face that looks like Jerry Garcia. I thought, in fact, it's called Harry Garcia, which I think is.
Oh boy. Well, it could. I guess it even could be an ice cream flavor or something like that.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, the Ben and
And
Jerry have
look at
Jerry's
the
Garcia.
top of his guitar too.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, right, right. Good, answer, Karen.
I thought that was great. So, anyways, I believe that's the end of our Bigfoot stories there, which means that it is time for What in the World of Sports with John Denalo. Oh, John and I, everybody, the regular listeners know John and I have known each other since college. We're fraternity brothers. John knows more about sports than anybody I know, more about trivia just about than anybody I know. So that's why we ask him all these hard questions on the show. And the hardest one I ask him is, John, find us a sport that fits with the theme. What in real sport, sometimes strange, always funny. John always manages to find one. He's got a great one this week. I got your photos lined up, John. Go to it.
Sounds good, Paul. Thanks for the introduction. So, our sport this week is one that you probably have never heard of. It's called Tijo, spelled Tejo, and it is a traditional throwing sport that is played primarily in the country of Colombia and neighboring countries to Colombia. The best way to describe Tijo might be cornhole with explosives because it uses small targets containing gunpowder, which explode on impact. Now, the exact origins of Tijo are unknown, but many believe it started with the native aboriginals, in central Colombia. This form of Tijo used a golden disc called Zepqua Cosqua, which means I play in the Chibcha language.
Oh, very good. Very good on those words, John. The
Hey, thanks.
Yeah. Look, the disc, by the way, looks like a deformed hockey puck, kind of.
That's a good way to describe it. Now, so Tijo is so popular in Colombia that the sport of soccer is the only sport that is more popular.
Wow.
There are professional Tijo teams in both major cities and also smaller towns. Now, in the past, the playing of Tijo was accompanied by chicha, which is an indigenous maize-based alcoholic beverage that the players used to imbibe, but modern Tijo players refresh themselves with beer. Tijo aficionados are trying to change its image from a rowdy bar game to a serious one with a rich history. So they're pushing to prohibit alcohol companies from sponsoring the games because many breweries again sponsor the sport.
Wow. Good luck with that.
Yeah, no kidding. Now in Colombia, Tijo tournaments are called Torneos Relampago, and prizes for winners include trophies, medals, cash, and even household items. Professional Tijo teams exist on a smaller scale in the countries of Ecuador, Panama, and Venezuela.
Wow.
Okay, as for gameplay, the sport consists of throwing a metal puck or disc called a Tijo across a field at a 3x3 foot by 3x3 foot board at a distance of 20.2 yards. Those are great diagrams, Paul. The board is covered with clay and is set at a 45-degree angle. Now, the Tijo must be thrown from within the throwing area, and the goal is to impact the inside of the target, which is a circular pipe of all things. A chief characteristic of the sport is its use of small exploding targets that contain gunpowder, commonly known as mechas.
That's the best part.
Yeah, these triangle-shaped envelopes are set on the edges of the pipe. Now, when struck by the Tijo, they explode loudly, creating a sound like a small revolver. And modern adaptations of Tijo
some of these displays, John, they look like there's been a lot of explosions.
Yeah, definitely. You can see they've been used for certain, Paul. But
Yeah.
But so the modern adaptations of TJ also exist with electronic sensors instead of the traditional mechas that are used. Now, although scoring is arbitrary, the following format is commonly used, so pay attention. The first one is if what is called a hand, and that grants 1 point to the Tijo that is closest to the target at the end of a round. The next one is a hit, which grants 3 points to each player that explodes a mecha. And a bullseye grants 6 points to the player whose Tijo has impacted inside the target. Lastly, there's the strike, which grants 9 points to the player that scores a hit and a bullseye in the same throw.
So you don't get you don't get any extra points for causing an explosion.
Correct. No, again, there's a certain degree of accuracy that is rewarded here.
It's just
Now,
fun.
Yeah, exactly. Now, games can be played between individuals or teams of up to 6 people, with 1 throw for each player per round. Now, Ticho definitely sounds like an explosive version of cornhole, as I mentioned earlier, and combining them could make it popular in the US. Actually, if bags of corn replaced the discs, the heat from hitting the target would give the players some popcorn to go with their beer as refreshment.
Oh,
What a great idea. John, that's it. That's it. If we don't do the poop copter, we need to.
I would think that this approach would give a close run to the poop copter, Paul and Karen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this what we could combine with. There's 2 businesses right there: Tejo tournaments and poop copters.
Stay tuned, everyone. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. That's right. That's right. Wow, what an interesting sport. It really is. It does look like cornhole, kind of a primitive version of cornhole.
Yes.
The explosives really adds to it. I think that just makes it, that would make it such a popular sport in the United States. I don't know what else to say. Great sport, John.
Thanks, Paul.
You mentioned at the beginning, that you probably never heard of this sport. And I thought about it, and I remembered way back when we were in school, many, many, many years ago, we encountered a sport very similar to this, that had to do with throwing beanbags, like cornhole. Do you remember a sport that we participated in where we threw beanbags, kind of like cornhole?
I do, now that you mentioned that, Paul. Hopefully you've got some photos to show and display here.
Luckily, I do, and explosives were involved back then as well. So, as always, the older fraternity brothers asked John and myself to pull together the equipment to play this explosive game with beanbags. So they sent us out to get the equipment. So, of course, I was responsible for the beans, and I found a beanbag chair, but I ended up just it looked too comfortable. So I got a beer and I laid down in a beanbag chair, and that was pretty much the end of my participation in the sport. But John is he was a dedicated fraternity brother. He was dedicated to all these projects. So not only did he get the beans, but he handled the explosives. Although I think that John may have gone just slightly overboard with the explosives. As you can see in this photo, where it looks like the entire street behind our school exploded into a bright flash. I don't remember if we lost the tennis courts on that one or it was.
I don't know, Paul and Karen, in audience. It's kind of an embarrassing photo there.
Definitely a huge explosion on the campus of John Carroll University right there. Obviously, that looks like us in college, right? Yeah, our pants down. I don't know. I think it might be a little more modern photo. But anyway, great story, great sport, John. As always, thank you so much for that sport.
You are welcome, Paul and Karen, and audience.
I believe that we have reached the end of sports, which means it's time for Bluff the co-host, everybody's favorite weird news show game. Rules are simple in Bluff the co-host. I have 3 stories similar to the ones we've been talking about all afternoon. One big difference, despite what John says, all of those stories were real, but these may be real, they may be a bluff. And it's up to John, Karen, all of you playing at home to decide real or bluff. Wagering is allowed, so place your bets. John and Karen, put your hands on the buzzer. Let's get right to story number one. A woman in Florida was cleaning her house when she thought she heard a kitten crying underneath the house. She and her husband spent 7 hours searching the crawl space with flashlights and a can of tuna in an attempt to catch the kitten, which they continued to hear but couldn't find. It was only after the woman came inside to change her clothes that she realized the squeaky kitten sound was coming from her shoes, which had gotten wet the day before. Her husband wasn't upset, although he did spend 7 more hours going through all of her other shoes to make sure the kitten caper didn't happen again. Okay, so the lady who thought she heard a kitten underneath the house and she and her convinced her husband to spend 7 hours looking for it, turned out to be her squeaky shoes. Real or bluff? Karen, we'll start with you.
I hope this is a bluff because that's like carrying it a little bit too far. So bluff.
Okay. Karen hopes it's a bluff. John, how about you?
Oh, I'm gonna say this is a true story. I can see that someone could be that, I guess, misguided or not informed as to really what the source of the squeak was. But I think it's a real story.
Okay, if your lovely wife said she heard something squeaking underneath your house, would you go crawling for 8 hours?
Not for that length of time. No, I don't think so.
I hear you. I hear you. We'll leave it at that. Okay. So Karen says that story is a bluff. John says it's real. Let's check with the judges. The judges say, congratulations, go to John on the first question. That is a real story from Florida, of course.
Good.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Very good.
Right.
Oh, John. Oh, boy, this is an unusual spot for you in the past few weeks. John is in first place. So
Yeah.
Hey, I'm still trying to get over the Freddie Mercury gum spot or whatever. I'm still very, very concerned about that, but that's okay.
For those of you who don't recognize that, watch last week's podcast and you'll learn all about Freddie Mercury gum. Okay, so John's ahead 1-0. Let's get to story number two before he loses his winning streak. Zookeepers at a small zoo in Germany were puzzled when they began morning inspections of the monkey enclosure and found a tree had been cut down overnight. They suspected vandals but couldn't find a hole in the fence. However, the search did uncover a cheese grater, which, when they held it up, caused two of the male chimpanzees to start jumping up and down and making sawing motions. It's not the first time chimps have used tools, but the zoo thinks it's the first time that the chimps showed patience to cut down an entire tree with a cheese grater. They think a worker in the kitchen accidentally left the grater in the chimp food, so they switched the apes to chunks of solid cheese. Okay, so the zoo in Germany that says their chimpanzees found a cheese grater and used it to saw down a tree. Real or bluff? John, we'll start with you.
I'm not sure, Paul and Karen, like what the size of this tree was, but how long would it take them to do that with a cheese grater? I mean, this has got to be a bluff. I really hope it's a bluff, but that's what I.
You hope it's a bluff. So John says the cheese grater story with the chimps is a bluff. Karen, how about you?
I have to agree because that would take forever and a day to chop down a tree with a cheese grater.
Okay, so John and Karen both say it's a bluff. What else do the chimps have to do besides go saw a tree down with a cheese grater? That's my thought. They both say it's a bluff. Check with the judges. The judges say congratulations to both of you. That is a bluff.
All right, very good, very good. Okay,
yeah, that means John is ahead 2-1. Yeah, but regular listeners know round number 3 points are doubled. So Karen could come roaring back as she has occasionally. So John, be ready. Story number 3.
I am ready.
On the anniversary of the day Emperor Nero allegedly fiddled while Rome burned, the Cafe Nero in Rome, Italy, is offering free coffee and cannolis to anyone brave enough to stand in the middle of a 1 meter wide circle of fire while playing a violin. To qualify for the free coffee and dessert, the contestant must play a recognizable song for at least 1 minute and not catch on fire. This is the second year for the Cafe Nero promotion, which was won last year by a man who played Purple Haze by Jimi Hendrix and actually set his violin on fire while playing. To prevent any accidents, flaming violins have been banned this year. Okay, so the Cafe Nero in Rome, Italy is celebrating the anniversary of Nero fiddling while Rome burned by having fiddle players stand in a circle of fire and fiddle. Real or bluff?
I'm going to say it's real. It's so odd, it could be real.
So odd it could be real. The theme of our show. So odd it could be real. Okay, Karen says it's real. John, how about you?
I agree wholeheartedly with Karen on this one. I mean, it is very, very odd, but I could see a cafe or an establishment trying to do this as a promotion. I think that the participants would have to sign a disclaimer, I think, in the event that you would hope so anyway. But no, I think it's true. I think it's a real story.
John, would you fiddle in a circle of fire for cannoli?
I do a lot.
If you would, I have one.
I would have to scare up a violin though, and I don't have one at my disposal. But I guess I could. I guess I could be talked into doing something like that.
Monica would work. So both Karen and John say that the Cafe Nero story, fiddling while Rome burns in order to get a cannoli, is a real story. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, well, the bad news is you're both wrong. The good news is, so John week at the score of 2-1. So congratulations, John.
Good job.
Oh, thanks everyone. Appreciate that. It's good to win and have a worthy opponent in Karen every week, obviously. So
you do. That's true. That's true. Karen's tough in Bluff the co-host. She's quiet, but boy, she knows her stuff. So
real quick, I was wondering if this might spur someone to do that in Italy or even in the U.S. As a promotion.
Well, John, I think we found our third retirement job.
Oh, that could be right. Exactly. Okay. We'll get on that one as well too. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
There we go. And on that note, I think we will put a cap on this show for the week. I want to thank Karen Hale, our media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, our producer and great co-host and Bluff the co-host contestant. Thank you for everything you do for us, Karen, at What in the World. Thank you for everything you do for all of the podcasters at newclevelandradio.net. Please visit the website, find out how to download us, how to locate us. You can also go to paulseaburn.com where you can find out about that, other things I'm working on, how to buy my book, all that good stuff. Then I want to thank John Donello, my old buddy from college, color commentator and all-around good guy. John, thanks for everything you do for our show.
You're more than welcome, Paul and Karen. It's always a lot of fun, and it was a great show as it is week to week. So again, looking forward to next week as well.
That's right. Looking forward to hopefully talking about a Guardians victory and maybe even a Browns victory next week as well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
All the college sports we root for. But most importantly, I want to thank all of our listeners. You're the reason why we do this show every week. Without you, we wouldn't be here. We hope that you have as much fun listening to our podcast as we do putting it on. I hope that those of you in Florida stay safe. The rest of you have a great week. We will be back next week on Tuesday, our regular day, with more strange stories and sports and trivia and all that good stuff. In the meantime, have a fun week. Get out and look at the leaves. They're starting to change color.
Great day, everybody.